Now let's understand the significance of Tiruvannamalai, where the incarnation, the avatar, has chosen to be taken birth in this sacred town. And Annadana significance. Let's understand the basic concepts, and we'll be watching continuous Annadanam happening. I welcome all the viewers to participate in this auspicious Pausha Paurnima Annadana Karakram at the Kailasa Tiruvannamalai. Before we start, let us have a brief pontiff of Hinduism. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was born as we just discussed. The avatar chose this sacred town as his birthplace. Shortly, we'll understand the sacredness of this holy town. On 17th July 1981, at just age of 3, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagwan Nithyananda Paramashivam, was initiated into Bala Sannyas, a child saint, by enlightened beings, masters, and predecessors through a ritualistic ceremony. And the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was identified as an incarnation by the enlightened beings and masters such as Yogiraj Yoganandapuri, Panduranganarada as the 238th Guru Mahasannidhanam of Tunde Mandala Adhinam of Kanchi Mat. At the age of 16 itself, Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was coronated as the revival of Kailasa is, by his spiritual gurus, Mata, and other gurus. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism established early days in mission, the headquarters in Adi Kailas, Sarvajna Peetham, and much before that, when he was very young, the temple monastery complex of his guru, Mataji Vibhudanandapuri, in Tiruvannamalai itself. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was built brick by brick. And his gurus guided him, and he just followed. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism conducted various mass meditation programs, healing camps, initiated thousands into healers. Kalpataru meditation camps to lakhs and lakhs of people across the world. And Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was coronated various titles. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was ordained as the 293rd Guru Mahasannidhanam, that is Pontiff of Kanchi Kaila Sarvajna Peetham of Tunde Mandala Adhinam. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is also the incumbent emperor of Surya Vamsha Surangi Samrajya. So for that, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is the present 23rd Guru Mahasannidhanam of Dharmamukhi Sarpuram Adhinam. Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is the present 293rd Jagat Guru Mahasannidhanam of Kailasonnata Shamala Pita Sarvapijam. And the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is the present Mahamandaleshwar, the supreme spiritual head of Mahanirvani Akhada, the largest apex monastic order. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is the 1008 Acharya Mahamandaleshwar, head of all spiritual leaders of Atal Akhada, which is the ancient apex body of Hinduism. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, elected as the Pontiff of Hinduism by a congregation of over 1,000 Hindu leaders. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism established the sovereign state of Sri Kailasa. Kailasa is a macrocosmic, ancient Hindu civilization, enlightened civilizational nation whose vision is living enlightenment for all of humanity. Kailasa's mission is to revive and share with today's world the practical applications of the greater sciences of authentic Hinduism, including Hindu cosmic physics, Hindu alchemy, Hindu cosmology, Hindu biology, Hindu mathematics, power manifestation, and other sciences as revived by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. These sciences were once practiced freely in over 56 nations across the country, but are now facing extinction due to persecution over a the Sri Kailasa United Nations various humanitarian service activities to help to support a variety of humanitarian services, equitable, resilient, and thriving world. Shortly, we will understand the Annadana, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism passionate project, No Hungry Hope, a project offered by school with the blessings of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism to serve nutritious food and a hunger-free world. 5 billion meals served so far across the world the past 27 years. Every month, the Hindu AMT community has served more than 3 million annadam, that is, organic meals as per the tradition. In religious gatherings, to everyone without discrimination. In general, 10,000 meals are served daily, free of cost, and up to 1 lakh and over on festival days. Today is one of the day on the occasion, auspicious occasion of Pausha Paunami. Kailasa in Tiruvannamalai is serving the Annadana, various preparations, so much hard work of Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism to make this massive Annadan to happen. We will go over all those arrangements shortly. And The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, in his various charitable activities, one of the contribution is during the pandemic. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism converted his monastery campuses into a multi-layer quarantine facilities, free for all people, regardless of any differences in age, gender, caste, creed, ethnicity, color, or socio-economic status. Food, shelter, internet, everything is provided for indefinite period of time. Not only that, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism conducted an online program to combat the effect of the epidemic, and 30 million citizens followed Kailasa's 28-day spiritual rhythm in 2020, soon after the corona pandemic started. The Hindu University, Nithyananda Hindu University, and the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism revived the Nithyananda Gurukul under the school for educational reform and development. Nithyananda Hindu University is the world's largest Hindu university. Nithyananda Gurukul, established by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism on October 2nd, 2006, to revive the ancient Adi Shaiva Guru disciple education, an authentic knowledge transmission system based on enlightenment. Nithyananda Hindu University has 20 million plus enrolled participants and 7,000 free courses and extended campuses in 150 countries. One of the major projects of Kailasa established by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is Nithyananda Jnanalaya, a Hindu library, and Hinduismpedia, offered by school of the Hindu scriptures. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism conducted various conferences for world peace and global peace and religious harmony. And one of the major achievement by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is women empowerment programs under the scope of feminine empowerment and gender equality. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism revived the Vedic feminism by in Kailasa, where 80% of the leadership positions are occupied by women. And Nithyananda Yoga. Not only the authentic yoga, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has revived, also has achieved 2 Guinness World Records for largest rope yoga, the ancient form of yoga called Kundalini Raju, and Shivastamba Yoga, the pole yoga, bringing the worldwide attention to these extraordinary forms of yoga. Despite being heavily persecuted continuously for over a decade. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Nithyananda Paramashivam, is unwavered in his intention, commitment, and action in building the only Hindu nation, the sovereign state of Sri Kailasa, to protect, revive, and preserve Hinduism, the most ancient, most peaceful, still living, and long lasting demonstrable system that shows the possibility of peaceful coexistence amongst people. The sovereign state of Sri Kailasa, the ancient, enlightened Hindu civil nation, the first nation of Hindus, led by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, global Hindu diaspora at the 14th session of the United Nations Forum on Minority Issues second meeting. And despite the fact that all these achievements are done, despite the torture and the murder attempts by the state and non-state actors, the Supreme Pontiff over assassination attempts, physical attack on Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in India and abroad, and 40 attacks on community members, a destruction of monasteries, and 50 incidents of attacks, molestation, rape of women and women bonds, intense lawfare via over 100 false legal cases, all but one dismissed. Intersectional persecution using the entire government mechanism, politically owned media, police, judiciary, controlled by the politicians, inciting mob violence via social media. Despite all this, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism continues to serve the humanity, reviving authentic Hinduism, established the only Hindu nation, Kailasa. And today, you're going to witness the one of his passionate project is today you're going to witness his passion to serve people, to serve the Paramashivas who walk on the sacred tongue of the Tiruvannamalai, the birthday of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. The Avatar himself chose to born in this sacred land. His birthplace. Every day, Annadan happens here. To the pilgrims, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism says the great significance of the Annadan here. The people who walks on this land are not devotees of Paramashiva, they are Paramashiva. Serving them is serving Paramashiva. What is the great significance of this land? Tiruvannamalai. What is the great spiritual significance where the greatest avatar has chosen this land? Let's understand this about this land. That Tiruvannamalai Paramashiva's promise to humanity in Tiruvannamalai that Paramashiva lineage represents the tradition of gurus, The enlightened masters in Tiruvannamalai, also called as Arunachala, starting from Paramashiva, the lineage of Paramashiva prevails to fulfill Paramashiva's promise to humanity to be an eternal guiding force through an unbroken lineage of living goods, hailing from Tiruvannamalai to sustain the enlightened ecosystem. The Hindu history reveals the appearance of Sri Paramashiva as an infinite effulgence of light, both power, depicted as a deity in the picture in Tiruvannamalai, and bless the humanity with the promise to be available in the threefold form. The first form as the sacred hill Arunachala that continuously radiate the energy enlightenment. The second promise is worshipable Shivalinga, the deity in the Arunachaleshwara temple in Tiruvannamalai. And the third as the living incarnation to continuously guide the people in the path of enlightenment. So Paramashiva's promise to humanity to manifest as in the Arunachala hill and the Shivalinga as Arunachaleshwara Linga and the current incarnation, the unbroken lineage, current incarnation, the supreme quantity available on the planet Earth. In Arunachala, Paramashiva is radiated as Agni Tattva. Imagine the huge Arunachala as a huge fire, a light shaft, a huge fire. How can we do circumference? Paramashiva succumbed that Agni, the fire, inside and established himself as a mountain with all the herbs as the sacred plants on the mountain. Paramashiva Agni Linga become Arunachala mountain to grace all of us. intention of every seeker, especially if you are a Hindu, to realize your own divinity. That experience of Shiva, that I am Shiva, I am Paramashivam, I am divine. That is the ultimate experience we all see. From this context, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagadguru Mahasannidhan, Divine Holiness, Nithyananda Paramashivam, has given thousands of techniques, programs, and cognitive shifts to jump from human to divine. One such understanding is the practice of Annadam, sharing food with others. One such practice is very passionate. That Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has been teached since age 3. Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism says that you are what you eat. So, the Western way of cognizing this is to manage our own individual food habits. So, become conscious about a balanced diet, exercise, and maintaining a holistic lifestyle for a healthy life. The Hindu way of cognizing this is to align it with the core truths of the cosmos, the oneness, with peaceful coexistence. So, Sanatana Hindu Dharma, the food is celebrated from this context as means to nurture, sharing, and caring for others. It's the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, day in, day out, implement in all his Kailasas on a massive scale. Today, we are witnessing one such occasion is celebrating the Paurnami Annadam. Annam Bahupurvita. This is the first sutra of Annadam. That is, let us generate food to share. Generating food, creating food, preparing food, not just for the individual self, but to share with others. In this Annadam lifestyle, the one who serves food and the one who served food both receive the benefits. One who feeds and the one who is fed both receive benefits. In Kailasa, across the world, Annadam has been a continuous reality with the blessings and hard work of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's life. Right from the age of 3, when he offered Nithyananda, the food to Ganesha deity, devotees and disciples will be familiar with this sweetly mystical story. Anyone can say that he himself blessed the Annadam by accepting the food from the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And it has been his life ever since. So, Hinduism started Annadam, this passion, since the age 3. Throughout his life, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had the natural habit of sharing food with others. Even when he himself is not consuming food. Even at a young age, he had the habit of packing several packets of food from his own house to share the sadhus, the wandering monks in his hometown of Tiruvannamalai. In fact, Swami Amma, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's biological mother, Manitya Lokanayaki Amma, the Purvash, mother of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, the biological mother, has many interesting stories to tell about how she would have cooked a large quantities of food for the day, only to see them disappear by mealtime. The young Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism would have packed them all and shared them with the monks. On one special note, on this auspicious occasion today at Kailasa in Tiruvannamalai, Annadam is happening. We are all going to witness the continuous Annadam to lakhs of people. And it is the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's passionate project to serve one and all the anna, the food is to be given free. I have heard him say almost 20 years. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism always says, giving food is giving life, saying yes to life, giving life to others. He micromanages the work to make this massive Annadam happen. Every aspect of Annadam, the comfort of the people who walked into our Adhina, their comfort to make them sit on the cement benches, be it a quality of food, how they cook, the ingredients, the quality of ingredients, and no one should wait. The continuous Annadam should be served. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism repeatedly says that the pilgrims that walk on this sacred town of Arunachala they are not devotees of Paramashivam. They are Paramashivam walking on the sacred land. He encourages us to serve continuously. Says serving
Nithyananda, everyone.
Philips
Let's understand the spiritual history of Tiruvannamalai, the birthplace of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Jagadguru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness, Bhagwan Nithyananda Paramashivam, our beloved Guru. Paramashiva's promise to humanity in Tiruvannamalai, the Paramashiva lineage represents the tradition of the Gurus. The enlightened masters in Tiruvannamalai, also called Arunachala, starting from Paramashiva himself. The lineage of Paramashiva prevails to fulfill Paramashiva's promise to humanity to be an eternal guiding force through an unbroken lineage of living gurus hailing from Tiruvannamalai to sustain the enlightenment ecosystem. Hindu history reveals the appearance of Sri Paramashiva as an infinite effulgence of light called the Lingodbhava, depicted as a deity in Tiruvannamalai to bless the humanity with the promise to be available in the threefold form. The first is the form of the sacred hill Arunachala that continuously radiates the energy of enlightenment. Second, the form of the worshipable Shivalinga deity in the Arunachaleshwara temple in Tiruvannamalai. And the third is as a living incarnation to continuously guide the path of enlightenment, starting from Paramashiva himself to currently our beloved Guru, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Paramashiva's promise to humanity to manifest as the Arunachala mountain, Shivalinga as Arunachaleshwara Linga, and the living incarnation in Tiruvannamalai. In Arunachala, the Paramashiva is radiating as Agni Tattva, the element of fire in the Pancha Bhuta, the five elements. Imagine this huge Arunachala as a huge fire. How can we do pradakshina? That means the circumference. Paramashiva succumbed all that Agni inside and established himself as a mountain with all the herbs and the sacred plants on the mountain. That means Paramashiva Agnilinga is the fire element become Arunachala mountain to grace all of us. Our scripture says that the Skanda Purana, Arunachala Mahatyam says that crores and crores of janmas of punyas, that crores of lifetimes, one can even think of doing Girivalam. Even the name, hear the name of Arunachala. And then doing the Girivalam, the circumference of Arunachala hill. Our life is divided into two parts. Before entering into Arunachala and after entering into Arunachala. A soul's journey is totally different if that soul ever enters into Arunachala through the pradakshina, the circumference. Circumference to Arunachala mountain is to do the living pradakshina of Arunachala. In this Kali Yuga, even once you do the Giri Pradakshina, scriptures say it's equivalent to 100 Ashwamedha Yajna and 100 Vajpaya Yajnams done. In this Kali Yuga, it is not even allowed to do Ashwamedha Yajna. But here we can get that punya of 100 Ashwamedha Yajnam if we do the Girivalam here in Arunachala. A being wouldn't even get to know about Arunachala after crores of life. Even after listening about Arunachala, it is not easy to enter Arunachala. Only with Paramashiva's grace can we even enter Arunachala. Says Agastya Mahamuni in Skanda Purana. Imagine we get to serve the Annadana of these sacred beings who enter into the Arunachala. Come, let's hold hands to feed everyone who enters into Arunachala to do the Girivalam, the circumference to the sacred hill Arunachala, the Paramashiva himself, Nithyananda. Nithyanandam. Now let's understand the significance of Annadana, the serving the free food in Arunachala, the sacred, the most sacred holy place in South India, the birthplace of our beloved Guru, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagadguru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness, Bhagwan Nithyananda Paramashivam. According to the Skanda Purana, Arunachala Mahatyam, there is a story saying the significance of the Annadana at the sacred hill of Arunachala. The story goes that once upon a time, the Lord Brahma's, the Manasa Putra, Sanaka Maharshi, gone to Satyaloka, where Lord Brahma resides, asked his father, Lord Brahma, the significance of Annadana in Arunachala. Lord Brahma said that, my son, in all the three lokas, nothing equal to Annadana. Annado pranado nitya, anne piranha pratishtitaha. Veda states. We need to do every Annadan, those who do Annadan in Arunachala, all their wishes will be fulfilled and attain the highest state. Sri Mahavishnu and myself, we both are unable to even describe the greatness and the merit of the Annadana Mahima in Arunachala. Once upon a time in Dravida Desha, South India, King Simhadwaja, a Surya Vamsha king, Sun dynasty king, used all kinds of danas. He used to donate all kinds of things like precious diamonds, gold, everything except Annadana, giving the free food to Brahmins and other people. After a certain time, he passed away and went into Indraloka, the heaven. But he couldn't get the eligibility to drink the nectar, the Amrita. His position is not equal to God's because he has not drank the, the Amrita, the nectar in the heaven, the Swargaloka. One day, sage Narada went to Swargaloka and saw the Simhadwaja and his flight. And Narada said, okay, when you are on the planet Earth, all kinds of dana, donation, to the most sacred Annadana, the life-giving Annadana. You must do the Annadanam to please Paramashiva when you are on the Karma Bhumi on planet Earth. If you want to drink nectar in heaven, you must do the Annadana. Then Simhadwaja said, out of ignorance, I didn't do the Annadana. Now it's too late. Narada said, don't worry, I will go to planet Earth and make your son to do the Annadanam. With that result, you will get to drink the nectar in the heaven. Narada went to planet Earth, and the son of Simhadwaja, Chitraketu. Chitraketu received Narada and honored the sage and explained. Narada explained the whole thing. Then he said, the Chitraketu said, but with sacred place I can do the Annadan so quickly, crores of times more benefit from the Annadan. Narada said, he saw in his third eye and told Chitraketu that so many places doing the Annadan to lakhs of people. That result, even if you do Annadan to one person in Kashi, the Varanasi, that is equal to that. When you feed Annadan with a big feast in Kashi to crores of people in the Kashi, that is equivalent to one person feeding in Arunachalam. Understand the significance of feeding people in Arunachala. So Chitraketu went to Arunachala and prostrated to Narada in his heart and did the Annadan. The story says that Indra himself came with the golden pot to feed the nectar to King Simhadwaja. Then Simhadwaja enjoyed the heaven for a long time, and then he traveled to Brahmaloka, and then to Vishnaloka, and then reached Paramashiva Loka in Kailasa. So understand the significance, the sacred, and the way to enlightenment, giving the free food, Annadana, on the sacred Arunachala. This is from the Skanda Purana, Vidyasara Samhita, Arunachala Mahatyam, Annadana Mahima. So it's highly recommended to do the Annadanam in Arunachala. Come, let's hold hands to feed everyone here in Arunachala. With the blessings of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, let's join hands to do the Annadanam, Annadana Seva in the sacred hill Arunachala. All of you are welcome and attain the Kailasa, Maha Kailasa. Thank you, Nithyananda. Nithyanandam. Now let's understand the significance of Annadana, the serving the free food in Arunachala, the sacred, the most sacred holy place in South India, the birthplace of our beloved Guru, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagadguru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness, Bhagwan Nithyananda Paramashivam. According to the Skanda Purana, Arunachala Mahatyam, there is a story saying the significance of Nithyanandam. Now, let's understand the greatness of Annadana and Jaladana. In the Mahabharata and in Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Vedavyasa gives a detailed description of the greatness of Annadana and Jaladana. Sri Krishna says that Natasmat paramam dhanam kinichittati me manaha annat prana vrutastata pravartantehi sarvasaha. He says to Yudhishthira that I believe that there is no dana greater than the dana of food and water, because all beings are indeed born of dana. And from anna alone do they obtain the sustenance for living. He continues to say that Tasmadannam patam loke sarvalokeshu hatyate annat balan chatedasya praninar vartate tada. That is why Anna is said to be the highest in this world. The bala, the strength, and tejas, vitality of all living beings always depends upon the Anna. Anni datte nareneha pranadata bhavantyutaha pranadananti paramamna nade namiha vidyate. The one who gives Anna indeed gives prana, gives life itself. And what can be a greater dana in this world than the dana of life? In the Bhavishya Purana, Bhagwan Sri Krishna advises to the Emperor Yudhishthira. While advising him on dana, the discipline of giving, the discipline of the greatness of food and the giving of food, Sri Krishna says that Dadasvannari so annara yudhistiva. That means give food, give food, give food. After winning the Mahabharata war, Yudhishthira performed Ashwamedha Yajna. Before the Yajna, Yudhishthira, along with his brothers and in the presence of Sri Krishna, sits at the feet of Bhishma, lying on his bed of arrows, and Yudhishthira, who becomes the emperor of Hastinapura, requests to teach him on dharma. Then Bhishma instructs Yudhishthira all aspects of dharma. Bhishma's instructions run to about 25,000 verses, constituting almost a quarter of the epic. and comprising major Parvan, the Shanti Parvam and Anusasana Parvam of the Mahabharata. It is at the end of this great instruction that Bhishma leaves his mortal body. And Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa and Sri Krishna advise the grief-stricken Yudhishthira after the Mahabharata war and the departure of the Bhishma, his great-grandfather, to undertake Ashwamedha, the yajna of the great kings. After performing the Ashwamedha and being relieved of the great effort and activity that Satya involves, Yudhishthira wants to be instructed by Sri Krishna himself on the intricacies of dharma. Sri Krishna's instructions run through another 1300 verses. Toward the end of this grand discourse on dharma, Yudhishthira asked Sri Krishna for the essence of this entire teaching of Bhishma. Sri Krishna replies, see, understand, this is the essence of the 25,000 verses that Bhishma instructs on the intricacies of dharma. And Bhagavan Krishna explains with 1500 verses. But now Yudhishthira further asks Krishna to explain much simpler the essence of all this instruction on the dharma. Then Sri Krishna reverses. Annadah pranado loke pranada sarvadho bhavet tasmadannara visheshena datapyarbhiti michyatah. The world, both animate and inanimate, is sustained by food. The giver of food is the giver of life and indeed of everything else. Therefore, the one is desirous of well-being in this world and beyond should make a special endeavor to give food. Sri Krishna summarizes the monumental teachings of Bhishma. So, the essence of dharma, as conveyed by Sri Krishna in the urgently imperative command on the Bhavishya Purana. The essence is Dadasvannari, Dadasvannaraha, Dadaso Annara Yudhishthira, meaning give food, give food, give food, Yudhishthira. So now let's understand the greatness of giving food explained by Sri Krishna in the 15 verses. Now, exposition of the essence of Bhishma's teachings is presented in just 15 verses. The first 10 of these lay down the centrality of Annadana, the giving of food, in the like of a householder, and in the next 5 to celebrate the greatness of food, its emergence out of the vital essences of earth and its intimate connection with all life. Sri Krishna summarizes on Annadana Mahatmya. The first verse of these is Annena dharyate sarvar jagate tacharacharam annat prabhavati pranaha Pratyakshar samshayaha. The world, both animate and inanimate, is sustained by food. Life arises from food. This is observed all around, and there can be no doubt about it. And the second verse, Krishna explains that halatram pidayitu vatu deshe hale cha shaktitaha तातव्यर्ह भिक्षवे कान्ना matmano bhayamiccata. Therefore, one who wishes to attain well-being in this world and beyond should offer food to all who seek. One should give food in accordance with the time and place and should keep giving to the limits of one's capacity, even if it were to cause inconvenience to one's own family. In the third verse, Krishna explains, Arket guruvat prito gruhasto gruhamagatam, meaning finding an old person, a child, a tired traveler, a venerable one at the door, a householder should offer him a worshipable hospitality with gladness in his heart, as he would to his own teacher. In the next verse, fourth verse, Sri Krishna explains that क्रोधमुत्पत्तितर्हितु वा सुश्लोवितमत्सरः अच्छयेतति तं प्रीतः परत्र हितभूतये. Desirous of well-being beyond this world, the householder should purge himself of all anger, all jealousy, and offer worshipable hospitality with the grace and courtesy to the one who appears at the door. In the next verse, fifth verse, Sri Krishna explains that Atitam navamanyeta najutam gira midayet na prichet gotra charanam natitan vakadachana. Never offer slight to a person appearing at the door. Never let a falsehood escape from your lips in his presence, and never ever ask him about his lineage or learning. In the next sixth verse, Krishna explains that Chandalo va swapako va kaleya kachitagataha annena pujaniyaha syat paratra hitamicchata. The one appears at the door at the proper time, even if he were an outcast or such a one as of a dog, deserves to be worshipped with the offering of food by him who seeks well-being beyond this world. In the next verse, seventh verse, Sri Krishna explains that Pitayatu gruhatvaram bhumte yonnam bruhastavan swargatvara pitanam vai tangtena yudhishthira. O Yudhishthira, the one who shuts his door on all comers and indulges in his enjoyment of food for himself alone is certainly ensuring that the doors of heaven shall be shut upon him. In the next eighth verse, Sri Krishna explains that Pitin devan sin vipran atithim cha nirashrayan jonarah pranayatyainai sasya punya phalam mahat. And his virtue is indeed great, who propitiates with food the ancestors, the gods, the sages, and the venerable ones, the destitute, and all those who appears at his door. In the next verse, ninth verse, Sri Krishna explains that Kirti dutpa parnubahuso yudatyadhanna marthine brahmanaya visheshena sarvaspapaihi pramutyate. One who gives food to those who seek, and especially to the Brahmana seekers, is rid of all sins, even of his sins were immense. In the 10th verse, Bhagavan Sri Krishna explains that Annadah pranado loke pranada sarvadho bhave tasmadannam visheshena datavyam bhuti mitchata. The giver of food is the giver of life and indeed of everything else. Therefore, one who desires of well-being in this world and beyond should especially endeavor to give food. The 10 verses above lay down the basic precepts association with Annadana. The next 5 verses define the preeminence of food in the creation and sustenance of all life. Sri Krishna says that Anart hamritamithyahuranaraha prajananaraha smritam anna pranase sidanti sartepata dhatavaha. That means food is indeed the preserver of all life, and food is the source of procreation. And there is no food. When there is no food, the 5 elements constituting the body cease to be. In the 12th verse, Sri Krishna explained that Dalam balavato nasyedanna hinasya dehinaha tasmadannarha visheshena shraddhaya piva. Without food, even a strong man loses all his strength. Therefore, food, whether taken in reverence or otherwise, has a special place in life. In the next verse, 13th verse, Sri Krishna explains that Adarte hi rasavaha saradityaha sogabhapstibhi vayusmat samadaya rasam megheshu dharayet. Fatatu megha gharatha bhimo shakto varshati tadasatam tena dikthau bhave temta mahat pritata bharata. The sun, through his rays, draws out the vital essence, and Vayu, the wind god, gathers there the place there in the clouds. The vital essences that collected in the clouds are showered back to the earth by Indra. Suffused with the showers, the goddess of earth, O Bharata, is verily in the contentment. In the 15th verse, Sri Krishna explains that Pasyaha sasyani rohanti yirtahannakhilaha prajaha mamsamedo stimajjanav samrvastepyaha evahi. Out of the contented earth grow the food crops which sustains all life. Flesh, fat, bone, and marrow are formed of these above alone. Thus, in these 15 verses, Sri Krishna says all that needs to be said. about the importance of food and the giving of food. He defines the major precepts associated with Annadana, the great and incomparable virtue associated with the giving of food, the imperative of offering food to others before eating for oneself, the imperative of serving food in worshipable humility towards the receiver, giving to all those who come without ever inquiring antecedent, and the great sin that results from eating one's full without first having fed others who may be waiting at the door. And Sri Krishna goes on to teach about the central place that Anna occupies in the Indian understanding of the plan of the universe. Nithyanandam, everyone. Let's understand the spiritual history of Tiruvannamalai, the birthplace of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagadguru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness, Bhagwan Nithyananda Paramashivam, our beloved Guru. Paramashiva's promise to humanity in Tiruvannamalai, the Paramashiva lineage represents the tradition of the Gurus. The enlightened masters in Tiruvannamalai, also called Arunachala, starting from Paramashiva himself. The lineage of Paramashiva prevails to fulfill Paramashiva's promise to humanity to be an eternal guiding force through an unbroken lineage of living gurus hailing from Tiruvannamalai to sustain the enlightenment ecosystem. Hindu history reveals the appearance of Sri Paramashiva as an infinite effulgence of light called the Lingodbhava, depicted as a deity in Tiruvannamalai to bless the humanity with the promise to be available in the threefold form. The first is the form of the sacred hill Arunachala that continuously radiates the energy of enlightenment. Second, the form of Shivalinga